like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going on TV. I'm going to get all this exposure. And then it hit me that I do not have packaging. I don't have a label. I don't have a website.
Everybody's looking for that instant success, and it's just not,
Right.
It's not a thing.
Sometimes all you got to do is make a freaking Instagram or Facebook post and say, hey, this is what I have. Buy my product. Here's the website.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode 205. My name is Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Today we're joined with Ashley Drummonds of ABS Pancakes. It's a really cool story. Jason, I don't know how old she was. She looked young, but it seems like she's been through a lot. She has a lot of experience in a short period of time, it seems like.
Yeah, and I like her fire too. She has like fire. She's like the opposite of you. You know what I mean? Like just fire.
Yeah, she was fun. She was great. Great story. From Shark Tank to building a product from nothing, to going on Shark Tank, to being on HSN, to struggling with social media, the whole 9 yards. So it was a really fun interview. I think you guys will really enjoy it. So here it is. Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too for a couple
No,
of
you're
reasons.
not. You are not.
I am excited.
You're not.
Trust me.
There is
Look, can
nothing
you see
about
this?
you that's exciting.
And you'll know why I'm excited about it.
Right,
You'll
right.
hear. And one is because I think you have a very interesting story. And two is like, I love pancakes. I do. And I make them almost every weekend for my kids. And every time I eat them, I feel like I'm doing something terrible to my body. And I'm trying to watch what I eat nowadays. It's the new year. So I'm very interested in hearing about the pancakes, and I want to try them eventually. But why don't you just first start and tell us a little bit how you got to the point where you're actually making these really cool pancakes?
Yeah. So my background is I was a personal trainer for a very long time. I've always had a passion for fitness, and I love the process of transformation in any industry. I just love taking something from a starting point and taking it through a completion and being a part of the whole like adjustments and really just transforming people's lives. But I mean, I got into real estate and love that too. Anyways, so through this process, and I mean, part of it was my own journey too. I tried a lot of like the competitions, like figure, bodybuilding, all of that. And most people who have ever been in the fitness industry or tried to lose weight, typically it's like, all right, you got to cut out everything that tastes good. You pretty much get egg whites, chicken, broccoli, all this stuff that like you probably don't eat on a normal basis because it doesn't taste that great. And I did it, and I dropped a lot of weight, and I was putting my clients on these meal plans too that were getting really great results. But everybody, including myself, got to the same point where they're like, what else can I eat instead of this? Like, I'm so tired of eating this. I'm craving carbs. I'm craving something sweet, and I don't just want a piece of fruit. One of my other passions is food and baking. I love it. I love, like, it's a love language for me, giving people food that they really enjoy. So out of my own frustration and kind of trying to help my clients, I just went to my kitchen and took some of the protein powders that I had in my pantry and like put a bunch of flours out there. I'm like, all right, something gluten-free, low carb, all natural, that's like not going to spike their insulin. It's not going to cause any digestion problems. And I created a recipe first that I started eating every day for a while because I wanted to see if it actually worked. Does it keep me full? Am I still craving carbs and sugar, or am I feeling satisfied while also staying on track with my nutrition? And I started putting it in little bags and giving it to my clients to have them just make it home and see what happened. And a lot of them loved it. They were eating pancakes every day. Some of them were eating for dinner at night. And then one day they went to a friend's house or something and had them there, and their friend tried it. And I got a message on Facebook, and this was before I was even doing anything with it. And their friend was like, hey, I went over to so-and-so's house. They made these protein pancakes that they said they got from you. Where do I buy them? And I was like, oh my God, I could sell this. And that's kind of how the whole thing started.
It's funny that the way you tell that story, because we've had Jimmy, we talked about him before we got on, Jimmy DeSico, who created the super coffee, and his story was very similar, how he just like went into his kitchen, or I think it was his brother, went into his kitchen, just started mixing things together. And I think when people think about these products that are in the market, they're like, oh, they must have done all this research. And, I'm sure that came after the fact to get it started, but
Mhm.
it's really just a matter of, I mean, you just mixed a bunch of stuff that you had at your house together to create this new product. That's a really cool story.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do one with timing, but also where you are as a person. Like I was already in the place that I was looking for an opportunity and an idea that I could sell online that also helped a lot of people. So I think there's always ideas. That's one of the things about being an entrepreneur. There's always so many ideas, and sometimes it's hard to focus and not get off track with them. But normally when people start a business, it's usually because they're in the mental and emotional space that they are looking for an opportunity that solves a problem for people. So for him, he was either solving his own problem, I'm sure, or a bunch of people that he knew. And sometimes you just got to pay attention. Like life is always like, hey, this is here for you if you want to run with it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of entrepreneurs have that story.
So it's interesting you say that. Number one, I want to back up a little bit because I heard the word baking, and I used to have a baking blog with
Oh, wow.
So this is another thing that we didn't talk about, but I used to have a baking blog with a professional pastry chef, and a little baking blog was doing like 20K a month.
Wow.
Online. So it's pretty cool. We
That's
had a
awesome.
giant YouTube channel, a million views a month. So I wanted to back up to that. But I wanted to talk about something else because Kevin and I are exactly what you just described, right? Like, one thing about Kevin and I is like we have two different personalities. I'm like the ideas guy. Kevin is like he executes, right? Like he's like the executed guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm like the guy's like, hey, let's do this. He's like, whoa,
He's
whoa,
like,
hold on,
focus.
yeah, right, because I'm terrible. But we just before we got on, we were talking about this. I'm a golfer, right? I used to be a PGA professional. But like recently I've been playing golf and I've been getting like my blood sugar has been dropping and I've been going into these almost I don't want to say like comas, like whatever, but
You get really like foggy brained and lightheaded.
I can't stand, like people have to hold me up. And I went to the doctor. They said I had hypoglycemic episodes, they called it. So the reason I'm saying that is because I wanted to come up with a product that helped that, right? Like that, number one, kept your blood sugar up, but then at the end of the golf round, kept your energy up, right? And it just made me think, like I was listening to you on one of the podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, I got to talk to her about this. Because you're right. Like it was like another thing that I want to do because I'm in it was the point. I am in that.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We were just, because we were on the phone this morning at like, 10 o'clock this morning. And we were talking about, we got this golf simulator. We were starting this info product for golf, which we're all both excited about. And we were talking about like getting audio equipment, getting this. And then right before we got on with you, he's like, man, I just watched Ashley's stuff. And like, I want to make these nuts. I want to make, I'm like, oh my God. It's like, we were just talking about this other thing.
Pay attention. Stay one track.
But you said pay attention. You said pay attention. That was like the main thing. It's like, I'm getting dizzy on the golf course. I'm trying to pay attention.
Right. That though, okay. So there's a lot of things to go into that. Yes, you can totally create a product that helps people with that. That comes down way into nutrition and eating foods that don't spike your insulin, because then you'll be able to stay on a good stable blood sugar base. A lot of the things that do that, one, people don't get enough protein. Protein helps maintain really healthy blood sugar levels. Two, when you eat processed carbohydrates, even if it's whole wheat, whatever it is that's deemed healthy, that's really not that healthy. What it does is your body breaks down carbohydrates into sugar, spikes your insulin, gives you plenty of energy, and then the second your body burns it up, you go right back down. So this is why the keto diet, low carb diets are so big, because not only is the high protein helping people keep energy up all day long, it's building lean muscle. The low carb portion that comes from things like coconut flour and almond flour gives you the carbohydrate taste and flavor without causing those insulin spikes. So a lot of times people think they have like blood pressure, blood sugar, gluten intolerances, all these different things. And really what it is it's a hormonal imbalance from an insulin sensitivity standpoint based around the food that you're eating on a consistent basis. So it's not even like, I mean, you could totally create a product, but all that product would be is something called Abs Protein Pancakes. That's high protein, low carb.
Well, the interesting part about that actually is that I did this diet called the 40-day reset, and I lost 25 pounds in 25 days. And I didn't do it for 40 days
Not
because
normal.
That's not normal at all.
it worked, right? And
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. It worked for 25 days. How long did it work after that?
3 years, I kept the weight off. In fact,
Really? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, it's actually, I don't know if you're familiar with the diet, but basically all it is it's protein. It's one piece of protein and one vegetable, right? And actually broccoli is one of the vegetables you cannot eat. But basically what it does is it keeps your hormones balanced so you don't get real hungry, you don't get real like cranky. And literally it's just in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, I eat a piece of fruit, usually like an apple. At lunchtime, I have one piece of protein and one vegetable, and there's a list of things I can eat. 3 o'clock, I have another fruit, just like a different one, maybe like an orange. And then I have another piece of protein and another vegetable. And that's all I eat during the day. And I drink water with like Himalayan pink salt in it. And when I tell you I was losing a pound a day, I was losing a pound a day.
I could see by Ashley's face, she's going to have some
I'm like
some comments for you.
restraining myself right now.
But the problem with the diet, I will say, is that I lose the weight really, really quickly, but it's very hard to stay on it because the food isn't really that good. I mean, I can have scallops, I can have fish. It's just hard to sustain that. So I gained some of the weight back, but like right now, I'm doing the diet right now, and I'm literally a pound a day. It's gone. So
That's so not healthy. That is so not healthy. Well, because normally the recommendation for maintaining and sustaining weight loss is you want to stick somewhere between, you don't look severely overweight. So normal people is somewhere between 1 to 3 pounds a week, not a day, because rapid weight loss will end up completely throwing off your hormones. By the way, when you were talking about all the fruit, I was like, I know exactly why they have you eat those pieces of fruit in different times throughout the day, because it spikes your blood sugar, so you don't realize you're not getting enough calories and nutrients throughout the day. So it's like, we'll just give you a little more sugar and carbs and sugar and carbs, and you'll never notice that this isn't enough food for you. Yeah, anytime people tell me about 30-day cleanse and the 40-day weight loss thing, I'm like, no, please don't do that, because it's going to work really well. Then a little bit later, you're going to get bored with it, and you're never actually learning how to eat for your body and what your health issues are. All you're doing is getting a quick fix, and you're going to go hop on some other program again. So that's like, while you were talking, I'm like, let him finish, let him finish.
yeah. But yeah, Kevin used to say to me all the time, he's like, I don't do starvation diets. Now ask him what he's doing. He's doing a starvation diet. Only it's just not my starvation diet. He had to find his own starvation diet.
No, it's not starvation. I'm just monitoring my calorie intake. I'm keeping track of everything that I eat, basically, and I am doing intermittent fasting. So I don't know how healthy that is for you, but
it's not bad. I mean, the main thing you have to understand is when you put your body through a severe calorie deficit like that, you teach it to only metabolize that amount of calories. And like, that's what happens. So it's like, okay, great. We're only getting 900 calories, 1200 calories a day. Therefore, we will only produce enough fat burning energy to burn 1200 calories a day. And then you start to eat a little bit more, and your body's like, well, we're just going to store this as fat because you were only giving us this much. So we thought we only needed to burn this much. So that's part of the problem of it too. And it's all of it's so complex. You can eat 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day of good food, and you probably would still lose weight and sustain it, except for you're constantly energized and satisfied and feeling mentally clear and not having any kind of sugar drops. But people don't believe that, because that's not what all the products out there tell you. So they don't do it. They're like, I'm just going to juice cleanse for 30 days. I don't know why I feel like crap now, but I'll just do this. So don't starve yourself.
Okay, so you came up with these pancakes. Let's get back on track here, because came up with these pancakes,
putting them in Ziploc bags.
Right, put them in like Ziploc bags, right? And the interesting part actually is, like, I tell people all the time, when you first get into entrepreneurship, right, and you're gonna, I don't even know your entire story, but I can promise you that you're going to relate to this, right? You get into entrepreneurship, and then like you convince yourself that you need the best this, you need the best that, you need the best computer. Let me go buy the best laptop. Let me go buy the iMac. I got to spend $4,000. I need the best website. I need the best. Blah, blah, blah. And then like later on, when you had some success, you realize that like you've made it so complicated, right? Like you've complicated the entrepreneurial journey, and it's not really that serious, right?
Mhm.
So tell us, because I do know how you started selling these things, right? You said you put them in and I heard on another podcast what you did. So why don't you tell that story about the packaging side of it? Because I think what people who are starting businesses who may or may not be successful just yet don't understand is like, if you have a good product that people want to buy, it'll sell regardless or in spite of what the website looks like, what the packaging looks like. That stuff just optimizes something that's working already.
Right. Honestly, like my packaging, it was super ghetto. And to this day, like I still stay in, some of my customers are still my customers. And I always like send them messages and like Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday. Cause I'm like, you bought this. Like, why would you buy that? This doesn't even look legit. Basically. So, oh man, this is no joke. So I got the very first like boost I ever got was I had started this product in April or May of 2014, just giving them to clients, their friends, selling them. People, everything you're saying, people used to drive to my apartment 15, 20 minutes out of their way to give me $40 for this tub that I made in my kitchen. Like there was nothing fancy about this. And like, that's how they wanted it. But a local newscaster was like, hey, we heard you're selling this and we want to do a 4th of July promotion all about how they can eat healthy. And I was like, yeah, I said yes before I thought about it. And she's like, okay, great. Can you be here tomorrow at 7 a.m.? And it's like 3 p.m. the day before. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going on TV. I'm going to get all this exposure. And then it hit me that I do not have packaging. I don't have a label. I don't have a website. I don't have anything. Like, what am I supposed to take on air with me? And I don't recommend this. What I did is I went to a local nutrition shop and I found a package. This is 2 different scenarios. I found a package that was in a container that I thought one day I would put my product in, like a tub of protein that had a sticker. And I peeled their sticker off. I went to Kinko's and printed my own label, like, cause they can do hour turnarounds. And I was like, here, just put this nutrition label, whatever. Slapped it on there, and then I dumped their stuff out, put my mix in, closed it, and there's my product. It looks super fancy. But I also ended up, because we had 2 different products, one for cooking and then one for the actual on-air time. And I can't remember why I had that and I couldn't use it. So instead I went to Target, I bought a food saver bag and put all of it in there. So it's a clear package. Took that sticker off, put it on this food saver bag, and that was my very first packaging for Abs Protein Pancakes. And the funny thing about that story is I was so embarrassed at how unprofessional it looked. And on air, the newscaster, she was like, oh, wow, I really like your packaging. It looks so good. I was like, do you see where it says food saver? Like,
the thing is that people want the result, right? We think that they want what we see or what we put out there. But at the end of the day, if you can make someone lose weight, eating the things that they love, and they can sustain it, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, right? The rest of it is just in your own head, right? Like,
right.
And I look, you went on Shark Tank. I don't know if we mentioned that. I don't know if I heard that.
Not yet. Yeah.
We didn't mention that yet, but you went on Shark Tank, right? And they have a lot of money, right? Like they can make your brand look like $1 million brand like day one, right? But most of us don't have that kind of money, right? Which I think scares people, and they think that like day one it needs to be perfect. But one thing, like we didn't tell you this before we got on, but we did tell you we spent $100,000 on Facebook ads with our wildlife photography business. But we spend like between $3,000 to $5,000 a day right now on Facebook ads. And the truth is, when you don't have any money and you're only spending $100 a day, if your ads aren't working at that point, spending $1,000 or $5,000 a day isn't going to make them work. And people think that that's the case. They actually work worse when you spend more money, right? The margins are much more. So I think like it's a good lesson for people. It's like, look, if you don't have a big budget, like it's okay. It should be working when it's crappy, because when you optimize it and make it look really good, then it, you know, it should work a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in the beginning, I didn't use any kind of Facebook ads this was before Facebook and Instagram ads got really huge. Like most people were kind of realizing it was that, I feel like it was a little bit of a bump where people started realizing you can sell on Instagram, kind of like what's happening with like TikTok. Every time a new social media channel comes out, people are like, oh my God, you can sell on this without having to spend money. So I don't even think Instagram ads existed when I first started out. I just used really generic organic marketing techniques like hashtags and reaching out to people who had more followers than I did and collaborating with other brands. So even in the beginning, I don't think, I mean, yes, ads are important when you get the ball rolling and you have kind of some things in place where your shopping cart is working correctly, your email backend is working properly, and customer service and all those things. But sometimes all you got to do is make a freaking Instagram or Facebook post and say, hey, this is what I have, buy my product, here's the website, or send me a message, or don't even have a website. And that in itself will prove to you whether or not people want your product or they don't. And I think people get so caught up in the marketing and I need all this money to get going business that they haven't even tested the product with the people in their everyday life, which is so important. It's like, first, can you sell to 5 people in person that you're actually talking to? Because it's a lot harder to sell to people online who never see you face to face and have to trust that you're not a scam than it is to sell to people in person. So, I mean, yeah, like you don't have to have everything perfectly put together or even $100 a day. When I did start using Facebook ads, I only spent $5 a day because that's all I had. That was part of the profit I could do, and it worked. It wasn't fancy.
You make me cringe when you say just put a post on Instagram, because I am so bad at that. Like I'm like the opposite. Like I don't want to do that, but I'll spend 5,000 a day on Facebook ads, and that makes me feel good. Like I can't do a post. I don't want to do it. I don't know. So
yeah, but you're not selling yourself. I think that's the difference. Like if you were selling yourself, or like people were coming to you as an authority or something like that on Instagram, then it's not that big of a deal, because then they're just coming to you like a person.
right.
Yeah, before we got on, you were kind of saying that you were kind of an introvert, and how I was kind of introvert as well. And you don't really love the whole getting on social media and doing that whole thing, but you do create a whole lot of content. So how do you, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are introverts, like how do you get over that? How do you make sure that you get the content out on a regular basis?
So I'm not sure if this will make sense. I was actually talking to somebody else this week who also is a very sensitive introvert about this. Okay, so if this makes sense, this is going to help a lot. Basically, I'm an introvert in that I don't like being around a lot of people a lot of times. Like it overwhelms me, it stresses me out. It's hard for me to focus because I like being very like attention oriented. So I want to give you all of my present attention. So I'm kind of an introvert because too many people feels like too much that I'm trying to pay attention to. With things like social media, with these podcast interviews, even I do speaking, which is weird as an introvert, except for I figured out what it is. It's because I feel like I am giving. I feel like I am putting it out there. It's not coming onto me and overwhelming me. So it actually energizes me because I feel like I'm creating, I'm educating, I'm giving valuable content. So it's really simple in regards to keeping up with the content. And a lot of people kind of get messed up with this, both in the social media algorithms, but also just with your own mental health and just doing it. I make a post, I send it out, and then I leave it alone. And I usually don't go back and do anything on that until the next time I go to make a post. What a lot of people do is they go to make a post, they see the video or they see the image, and they're being way too much of a perfectionist, trying to fix it, or like, what am I supposed to say? Do I say the right thing? Do I put hashtags? Do I put my website? They get so caught up in that. It's like social media is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to feel like people are connecting with the person. So the more perfect or polished it looks, the less people like it because they don't feel like you're a real person. So just take a picture, throw it up there, leave it alone, and then people are probably going to hate it and say really mean things, but some people are going to love it, and that's what's going to attract the right customers and clients to you. So
yeah, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I was just going to say, so as an introvert, I mean, throw it out there and then leave it alone. You can't go then like read every single comment, every message, and then obsess about how not put together it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, you know, from Kevin and I's perspective as marketers, right? Like I just interpreted what you said just like a little bit differently. I'm like, look, get shit out there and see what people like. If they like something, then you create more of it. If they don't like it, then you create less of it. And if you don't have that dichotomy, right? Like you're not good. Did I use that right word right? But if you don't have like if you're not like producing shit that people don't like, you're not going to know what they do like. And if you like, so the point is like, yes, gauge what they like and what they want, because the truth is, we tell our clients this all the time. Like, you know, if you misspell something in an email, you know, like no one's ever going to remember that. Like, it's like a brief moment in time that, you know, so yeah, like get it out there, see if people like it. The things they like, do more of. The things they don't like, do less of. It's really that simple. And I think that's how I interpreted what you said when you said that.
No, I mean, you're right. And I did this like 2018, there was this big event with all these fitness entrepreneurs and personal trainers that were like, how do you build your brand? And it's not weird to me, but like a lot of the feedback people have with social media is they're scared. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you scared of? They're like, I'm scared of being exposed. Okay, well, why are you scared of being exposed? Well, because if it's bad, like if I put a bad video or I sound stupid or people don't like what I put out there, I'm like, you realize you are putting so much value on people you don't know their opinion of you, number one. But number two, like, that's anything in life. You're going to have the people that are like, hey, she sucks, unfollow. And you're going to have the people like, oh my God, finally another introvert that gets me, like, follow, like everything. And it's just kind of like, yes, you're saying, continue to be yourself, throw the content out there. The people that love you will love you for life. The people that hate you will hate you, even if it is perfect and polished. But that's not what's important. Just focus on creating content that provides value to the people that are searching for you. And the best advice I ever got when I first was figuring all this out is your only job in social media is to make it easier for the people who are looking for the solution to their problem to find you. That's it. Just talk to them and help them with that. And then now your whole focus is, how can I make it as easy as possible for people who are trying to like hit their nutrition goals, hit their weight loss goals, entrepreneur goals? How do I help them find me? And then it's a no-brainer. You just write stuff that they need to hear, or that they're like, how to eat protein pancakes that don't taste like crap. Right here. Hi, nice to meet you.
Have you heard of Ben Settle?
No.
Okay, so Ben Settle is like a copywriter, an email copywriter. And he says, he's like kind of like an ornery guy, you know, but he's funny. Like he says, why would you care what a person who hasn't achieved what you're trying to teach cares? Like, why am I going to listen to people who have not made a 7-figure business? Why should I why do I care what they think about what I'm teaching when I've done it? Right. Like,
right.
It's like you're letting people who know nothing about what you're teaching, like, aggravate you. Meanwhile, they haven't done the thing that you're doing. So,
and when you think about it, it's like a little bit of a narcissistic way to think. Like you're giving yourself way too much credit. Like for these social media posts, like not that many people are really going to see it. Not that many people are really going to care. Just like a blip in time, really.
You're so right. And like, it sounds bad, but it's like, you are not that big of a priority in their
Right.
day. They're going to stop for maybe, if you're lucky, 3 to 5 seconds. And they're going to scroll right on, and they're not even going to remember what they looked at to begin with. So stop. And it's so funny to me, like stuff like that. I don't know. I just don't think about it. It's just post, boom, not looking at my phone again. That's what it was. I told somebody, I was like, think of it like going on dates. I don't know if you guys are married or single. Last time you went on a date or a dating app, you cannot put your heart and soul into every single person you go on a first date with, because you're going to put yourself out there. You're going to try and look perfect, be on your best behavior, hide all your flaws. only put your best foot out there and just hope and pray that they're going to call you back if you like them. And then they don't call you back and now you're devastated and you think you're entirely worthless and a piece of crap. That's how social media is if you do that. But if you go into it with like, you know what, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do what I feel like I'm supposed to do. If they don't like me, fine. Eventually, someday is going to turn into something. That's how social media works. It's dating, just like online dating apps are. Just trust that, like, just be yourself. That's
And you
all.
don't need that many people to agree with you to make a 7-figure business, like
Right.
we have our wildlife photography business we were talking about, right? And like, there are they're not like the fitness niche, but like, let's call it 50 million people in the niche. I mean, we have 10,000 or 11,000 subscribers and we have a multi-million-dollar business. So you don't really have to make as many people happy as you think, right? Like,
Yeah.
Kardashian has whatever followers. You don't need that to make a viable business. And I think that's where people think is like, oh my God, I need 100 million people following me. Not really. If you can get 1,000 people, you're gonna have a pretty good business.
That's the irony is a lot of the people I find that have these super large followings, that's all it is it's a following. They don't actually have a business. And I got caught up in that a little bit 2 or 3 years ago because I was like, man, all these like influencers, the whole influencer marketing thing came out. I'm like, they got to be making a killing. They've got
really not
300,000. And then, yeah, you talk to them directly and they're like, oh, no, I don't I'm not actually making anything. I'm just an influencer. And sometimes businesses send me products. I was like, this is stupid. Moving on.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Are you familiar with Boss Babe?
Yes. Yeah.
She has a really cool brand. And we're like, Kevin and I'm like, you see on my ClickFunnels book spec there. I don't know if you're familiar with ClickFunnels.
Yeah, I know ClickFunnels.
Right. So those are all his books right there.
Russell Brunson.
Yeah. And he's I thought of Boss Babe when we were getting you on. I'm like, oh man, like I wonder if she's familiar with Boss Babe. Boss Babe did really well. Have you been on her website?
Not recently,
Yeah, it's really cool. You remind me of her because she's like high energy. She's like, not sure where that came from. But.
Were you doing a lot of the influencer stuff? You said you were reaching out to people and making partnerships. Is that what you focused on at the beginning? Was because in fitness niches, like I feel like so many influencers, so many people doing online products, so many people doing so many different things. Is that something that you were doing?
Yeah, I did it in the beginning. It's definitely changed over the last few years. In the beginning, most of the people that were influencers then, and again, this goes back to before influencers were influencers, and it was people who were just creating really great content on social media and had really great engagement on their platforms. I reached out, I only had like maybe 5 that I used consistently that I would send them one bag of product and they would just use it. Whenever they used it, they would tag me back. And that's kind of how I built the following organically when I didn't have money for advertising. Now it's totally different. Now influencers have become like a bunch of divas that are like, yeah, I'll make a post for you for $500 a post. And I'm only doing it on my story. So it disappears in 24 hours. And I want it backlinked to my website. And I'm like, you are nobody. Like you paid for all these followers. So it's a little bit different now. It's kind of flip-flopped where now I like working more with micro influencers, people that don't have as big of a following and I'm talking like maybe they have 1,000 to 5,000 followers because they're a little more organic. Their engagement is really, really good. And they're really consistent with the stuff that they produce because they still have that hustle. And I think that's what it is. It's like people realize they can run an ad on their social media page and immediately spike their following. And now they're entitled to, you just pay me for all this stuff. And I'm now here for $500-$600 a post. I don't like that. So I don't know. It's hit or miss. Sometimes I use them. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah, we have a client right now who their business, they have like a spreadsheet of like who they sent things to, who's posted, who hasn't posted. They got to reach back out to them. They should post what's going on, what's taking.
Yeah.
So it's a big pain in the ass. So actually I want to talk to you because we, obviously we've been talking about a lot of different things here, but I want to talk a little bit about your strategy. I know like you were just talking about influencers and we talked about Facebook ads a little bit. But what does your marketing strategy look like today? You went on Shark Tank. right? And I heard that story. Maybe you want to tell that a little bit. We get
Yeah,
a
I'd
lot
like
of
to hear a
people.
little bit about that story too. The Shark Tank.
Yeah, we
story.
get a lot of people on Shark Tank. We had a lot recently people on, actually this one client I was telling you about with the influencers, they auditioned as well for Shark Tank, and it's their experience is just like yours, the big pain in the ass. You get, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And I want to hear what your marketing strategy looks like, because I want to learn some things that I can use in our business.
Okay. With the Shark Tank story, which part? Because there's two folds. There's the part of like the process of it, getting on, what it was actually like, and then there's the part of it's called the Shark Tank effect, like the after.
So I don't think you need to go into the story. We all know it's a pain, like they, the back and forth, the video sending, they're not sure. We don't like you. We do like you. Come back. Don't come back. That's kind of like the typical story, right? We hear that all the time.
Yeah. The worst stress ever for like a year. Yeah.
Right. What I'm more interested in because we had a guy on here, Christian from what's the name of his
Uncharted Supply.
Uncharted Supply.
Okay.
They're 8-figure business. They were on Shark Tank as well, and a lot of people think you go on Shark Tank and now like, oh my God, you're making $100 million business. When the reality is they're just spikes, right? Like you get like a big spike and then like it goes away, and it's like. So, talk to us about your experience with that and how it's helped or hurt your business. And
I guess that's the Shark Tank effect. You were
Shark
talking
Tank
about.
That's okay. Yeah, the Shark Tank effect. I can see how he like keeps you focused. He's like, and all that to say, the Shark Tank effect. Yeah, man, that whole process, and I am so grateful for the group that we have because it like helps us all just cope with it. I wish prior to going on that show, somebody gave you like, all right, look, this is what it seems like. This is all the glitter and lights. This is what's probably going to happen, just so you have some sort of understanding of what to expect. Because every entrepreneur, right before they go in there, I thought it, we all thought it. And like sometimes we vent in the group of basically like, okay, I'm working so hard. I know eventually once I get that deal, walk off set, like whoever your shark is, my shark's going to come into my business. Their team's going to take over. I can take a break, all this money, like, thank God. So you just keep hustling. You just keep going because like, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. And then you do it and then you walk off set and you find out that that is not at all how it works. Like, all right, we'll give you a call back and let you know if you get any airtime. Wait, where's my check? That's what I got.
So you did get a deal. I didn't get a chance. I couldn't find your episode online this morning. So you did get a deal?
Yeah, so I did a deal with Damon John. It was $120,000 for 42%. It's on Hulu. I don't know if you can find it on like YouTube, but you can see it on Hulu.
Yeah, I saw some options to look at it a few different places. I'm gonna check it out.
So after I did my deal, I walked off set like I literally thought I was getting a check, and somebody from his team came over. We signed a no shop agreement. Basically, like during the due diligence process, I wouldn't take on any other investors, and we would get a call later that here's how the money's going to work. Well, what happened for me is I didn't hear from anybody for 3 months. So I'm totally confused on like, did this happen? Like, I don't understand. I wasn't in the Facebook group, so I didn't know any better. I finally got a call from Damon's team of his financial advisors, and it was basically like starting the entire Shark Tank process all over. Because they're like, we need your P&L reports, your balance sheets, your marketing plan, your business plan, last 3 years of financials. And I was like, can't you get this from the producers? Like, I'm still waiting for my 120 grand. And like you go through, it's the same for me. I don't know if everybody who did a deal with them was like this, but we then had to do videos and calls, and then they're checking the thing. It was a very stressful process. And then we had a call in, I think it was November of 2015 that the episode was going to air that January. So I was like, okay, so this is happening. This is great. Maybe he was waiting until the episode aired to give me money. I don't know what's happening. And And we just had this conversation basically where he was like, you know, I've thought about this. You're working really hard. You're hustling. Like, I admire your hard work. You seem like a highly motivated, creative person. I don't think you need my money. And I was like, are you serious? I literally have ordered so much inventory thinking that I had all this money coming in. And he's like, well, so I don't know if people have explained this about the show or not, but like part of it, sometimes everybody's deal changes after the show and it becomes up to just like a private thing between the entrepreneur and the shark that they're invested with. However, in order for you to be considered a shark brand, there has to be some sort of financial exchange that happens. So basically, we did like, I'll transfer this to you and then you transfer it right back. Like, so it shows that like money left one bank account and money went into another bank account. Like, that was our financial exchange. So for me, I never got any money. I never got any backing. I didn't get anything other than the exposure, which I'm incredibly grateful for. However, right after that exposure, I had such a hard time bouncing back because I pushed so hard for like a year and a half, 2 years, thinking this was the end, this is how it's going to work out. That I kind of just took a whole step back from my business for months because I was like, this is not at all where I thought this was going. And same thing, like a lot of the Shark Tank entrepreneurs talk about how you think they're going to come in for PR, they're going to come in and like help you, connect you with celebrities and big names to help produce your product and get the inventory problems fixed. And it's not like that at all. It's usually like an on-call basis. If something comes up that can fit your brand, that may work. All right, we'll do this. And then they take more of like a sales commission. Like, I'll take 10% of this deal if this goes through. So it's a very interesting process. And I think most of the people who have done Shark Tank actually love doing these interviews because from a viewer's perspective, everybody thinks like, oh, they're just making millions, like sitting back, the shark's just taking care of their business, where it upsets a lot of us because we're like, you have no idea, like we still work very hard every single day, and that's not at all how the process goes. So that's like the short version of my Shark Tank effect.
I think that's actually probably consistent with a lot of what, you know, we've heard and even our clients experience. They didn't actually get on, they didn't actually get a deal, but you know, just like the back and forth and uncertainty and like it's you know, we were talking to this guy Christian, and at the end of the day, it's a TV show, right? And at the end of the day, it's not really what they're making you think it is. I mean, and I kind of feel like in the beginning people thought that, but I think as they've been on TV, you kind of realize like, you know, this is just a TV show. They make it very dramatic, you know, with the faces of everybody and like all this other crap. But the truth is, you know, when I've been doing this for 17 years, Kevin has been doing this for 17 years. And, you know, we've recently just we've had a business that like is like around $1 million, but never really broke it. But now like this is our first time doing like having a multi-million-dollar business. And I'll be honest with you, you know, when you have money, you do want to get out of the day-to-day nuts and bolts, and you want to be more of the strategy side of things. So I understand. Yeah. And so I understand like what, you know, you got these sharks who are worth, you know, sometimes billions of dollars, you know, they're just looking for an investment. They're looking for their money to do the work. Right. If you get it.
Yeah. And I mean, I never had a problem with that. Like, I did not think that it was just gonna be easy. I was actually very prepared for like expansion and growth and all of that. I knew it was TV, and even in the filming process, there were parts that like they would just throw weird side comments that you just knew you're like, okay, that's reality TV. Like, that made no sense why you just said that. On the back end though, as an entrepreneur, it's very, very business. It's just, here's paperwork, here's a contract. So like, it's kind of weird. And I think that's why it's so hard. There's so many entrepreneurs that have gone on Shark Tank, and then a couple months later after it airs, they completely quit their business and struggle with like depression and all these things, because we know it's TV, But on our end,
Right.
there's nothing letting us know that, because we're signing contracts. Like it's very real, and nobody ever says like, hey, by the way, like, just so you know, like even this isn't really like what it seems it is. So that's what happens for a lot, is it's very confusing, and you're like, wait, no, I understand how TV works. I get that, like the whole like reality drama effect, but we definitely just signed a contract. And now I feel like I'm crazy because I took that seriously, but clearly it wasn't. And like, it's crazy. Like, I've heard so many stories of some of the entrepreneurs got checks actually written when they walked off set, except for the shark handed them the check for TV. So the entrepreneur is like, oh, it's real, I'm getting this. And then whispers in their ear, like, hey, don't cash this. Like, somebody will call you tomorrow. And you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what? I don't
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a little bit of a blessing at this point? I mean, 42% is a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge blessing. And you guys have been entrepreneurs long enough that I think that even as bad as some situations like that, like totally just pull the rug out from under you, it's part of your process on this entrepreneur journey of learning just really how the game works. And that's all it is a game. And I think in the beginning, you're so up and down and thinking like, this is it, this is the big thing, this is where I'm going to hit it, that after a few times of like getting tired of feeling that way, you learn to just like stay consistent, keep doing what you're doing. It's gonna work out. Slow and steady wins the race. Like, don't get so caught up in like the highs. Like, there's gonna be lows too. So, I mean, I learned a lot very quickly about not just being an entrepreneur, but business, opportunities, the amount of time I now invest into things, making sure it's really worth the reward that I'm supposedly promised at the end. So, I mean, yeah, everything that happens, I feel like teaches you a ton.
Well, I think you have to think about the entrepreneurial. Sorry, Jason. We have to consider the entrepreneurial journey similar to like the fitness, like we talked about, or the health journey. It's like everybody's looking for that instant success, and it's just not.
Right.
It's not a thing. Like we say, we went from 0 to 2 million in a year, but that's not really how it was. It was like we went from 0 to 2 million in 18 years, because of all the stuff we've gone through.
Yeah, exactly. It's a constant curve. It's the whole thing that whoever made that arrow, like we think success is like this straight arrow that hasn't, like, I see it. No, I got it. Like, it's right there.
That was what's his name?
Simple.
What the hell was his name? He had the blog, right?
Yeah. Yep. The little like zigzag arrow.
Yeah. What the hell was his name? Man, I used to follow him a lot. He's not really in doing the blog anymore though, but
I mean, it was like, it's the perfect depiction. And I guess if you just have that mindset of like, you're going to try out a whole lot of things and a whole lot of things aren't going to work. And eventually you're going to have this full circle moment where you're just like, and come back to like what's been working and stay consistent, because yeah, we all want it to work quickly. So we're like, ooh, this promises in 10 days, I can make 6 figures. I'm doing that.
Yeah. There's a process to everything, and that's the thing. I think entrepreneurs would be better served if they went into it saying like, I accept that this is going to be a process. I accept that this is not going to be an overnight thing. I have to, I don't know how well this analogy works, but like, I talk a lot about like email, right? So like when you first start your business, you have nobody on your list, right? You can't send a bad email and make money, right? But like year 2, when you have 100,000 people on your list, right? The only difference from day 1 to year 2 is time, right? You can send a crappy email to 200,000 people or 100,000 people, and there will be a percentage of people who buy. Day 1, they're not going to buy. So you have to understand that there's going to be the only thing that's going to be different is time. And it's a hard concept for new entrepreneurs to grasp, because they hear about all these people, how rich they are. They buy these Ferraris. They hear about guys like us that go from 0 to 2 million in a year, when really like we failed for 17 years,
That's the thing. Sorry. I was just going to say, I think it's because people don't share their struggles. People only share the highs. And I wish more people, and even my guy, Damon, I had no idea that, I think it was 6 or 7 years into his business, he ran out of money and had to go get a job at Red Lobster to get more money. I never heard that story. That would have been super helpful at the beginning of my entrepreneur journey, because when you don't hear things like with this podcast you guys are doing with other people's journeys of like, hey, no, like I totally like ran out of money. I totally didn't know how I was going to pay vendors and all of this. Like when you hear that, it gives you a little bit of hope that like, okay, this is part of the journey. This is part of the process. You're going to come out of it. It's fine. And I wish more people had, what's the right word? More confidence in themselves to be able to share that part of their story, where I think what happens a lot of times is people do start making their millions. They start being on the other side of the struggle, and that's all they want to show. They don't want you to know how hard it really was. Otherwise, I mean, most people wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, we're like the opposite. Like our first year from 0 to 2 was like amazing. But like going from 2 to 4, we're still trying to figure that out. You know what I mean? So, you know, and we failed a lot. Like you said, you know, we've failed more than we've been successful. It's just nice after 17 years to finally say that we did it. You know?
And what you're doing at the beginning may be nothing like what you end up doing. It's just like all part of leading up to that point. Like if you told me 10 years ago when I was focused on my agency that I'd own a wildlife photography digital magazine, I would say you're nuts. Or I have a golf simulator in my office now. I wouldn't say you're nuts, but it's all part of that journey.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And I think that like I love fitness so much because it really does teach you so much mindset, character, tools that you use, not just in entrepreneurship and life. Like there are days when you want to go work out and go to the gym and you feel awesome and like you're on cloud nine. And then there are days where you hopped on the struggle bus and you don't even want to get out of bed, but you have a goal, you have a plan, just get up, just go, and you're developing habits that help you. And I mean, I do the exact same thing in business. There's days I don't want to do things, but it's like, but I know why, and I know in the long run it pays off, and like you just got to stick with it. And that's what I would tell anybody is like, if you just keep going, eventually the kink comes out of the hose, the water starts flowing again, the faucet comes on, like it will work, but try not to get caught up in thinking it's going to happen quickly, because it's not.
No. And I heard a guy say, you know, once I became a 7-figure coach and I was around 7-figure entrepreneurs, I realized that they're not smarter than me. The only difference is that they didn't give up and I did.
100%. I feel that way about anybody that's successful. The only difference is they kept going. That's it. They didn't get some special talent or the silver spoon. Actually, it's most entrepreneurs that have succeeded, that at least from my experience, it's the opposite. They were not just handed everything over to them. Like they had to really hustle and learn and keep with it. So, I mean, yeah.
So we're like over time here, and we're sorry for keeping you. You told us an hour.
It's okay.
We talked for like 20 minutes before we got on, but
it's all right.
Again, I want to go back to the strategy because
do you have a little bit more time? Just want to check in on you.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool.
Sure. Okay. And it doesn't have to be long. I just want to hear what it looks like, because we're really big on Facebook ads, but they're changing, and we're changing our strategy a little bit, right? Like we used to be able to make tons and tons of sales on the front end of Facebook ads. That's kind of changing now, where we're doing a lot more lead gen and then selling via email in the back end. What does it look like? Number one, that's my first question. And number two, you don't have to tell us numbers, but like, where are you in terms of like how big you are? Are you like a multi-million? Are you multi-6-figure? Are you 8-figure? Just to give us an idea of like where you've taken this thing, if you don't mind sharing that. If you do mind sharing it, then you don't have to answer it. But
it's not that I mind sharing it. I am still under contract with Damon that I
can't Jesus.
Share it. Yeah.
Screw him.
It's okay. I know every time I tell that story, people are like, screw him. I'm like, it's not his fault. That's just how the process works. He's actually a very nice guy. He's a very nice guy. I just was very.
How long are you in contract with him for?
We had the first one was 3 years that we were in contract based on Shark Tank airing, because you get a lot of airing the first 1 to 3 years that spike sales, all these opportunities and PR exposures happening. So every time an opportunity came to me, if I agreed to it, he got a certain percentage of that opportunity. Then we renegotiated the contract after 3 years to just be on a performance basis. So basically not every single thing that comes to me do you get any kind of profit off of. It has to meet, like, there's the trigger amounts. It's got to be a certain trigger amount.
So he's getting paid for not giving you money and not being part of your business.
Only on as if you were a sales person.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like he doesn't get anything. I still own 100%. It's more just if he brings business to me, we enter into a negotiation of a contract.
Which is fair. Okay. So what does your strategy look like? Are you like email heavy? Are you Facebook heavy, Instagram heavy, YouTube heavy? What does that look like so people can kind of get an idea of what you're doing?
It's been hard. It's been a similar situation like you guys are in. It used to be I could run a Facebook ad with no real lead generation and people would buy just on like a regular Shopify homepage. Like it was super simple. And I think a lot of that is because that not everybody was getting exposed to 5 million ads a day all over the place, where people have kind of gotten numb to it. So I switched it and I did Instagram ads for a while, and that was kind of the exact same problem. Then I did the influencer marketing when you were talking about the people with the spreadsheet. I tried that, and after about a month, I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't handle this. So lately, the best things that have been working are podcasts. So I have a podcast as well. I've been posting way more, Jason, on my personal Instagram. That has actually helped a lot with conversions, because I think what's happening is people are getting really tired of branded content. They're getting really tired of being sold to. And the more personal something thinks, and I actually told another brand this that was asking for some tips on business. Their whole business had no image of them, no videos of them. It was just branding and everything. And I was like, here's the problem you're going to have is people are tired of this. They want to know who's behind what they're about to spend money on. They want to know the story, and they want to feel like they're actually talking to a person. So my strategy right now is I've gotten way more active on my personal social media accounts and using those. If I post like a really just not put together video that's just like me working out, and then I'm like, hey, I'm in the kitchen making pancakes, and then I boost my own personal stuff, that does way better than when I throw it on the actual business social media and try and do the exact same thing. It doesn't get the same results. So I've done that a lot. I also tried this on the email marketing side too. We sent out, it was crazy, and stuff like this, like I try not to force things. So like, even though it should make sense, if it's not working, I stop. We sent out one test email. The subject line was something like 40% off all our flavors, 24-hour sales. So we send this out, you get 40% off. Like I don't ever do sales like that. And we send it out. We got maybe, I don't know, like 1% conversion, which for me, that's not that great. So I'm like,
well, you broke the first rule. First of all, we have like this 5 keys to email, and you broke the first rule.
What's first rule?
First rule is you cannot allow the person who's receiving your email to make the decision whether or not to open the email with your subject line, because then they're not going to open it. They're not going to see your offer. They're not going to see your email. Right. Mm-hmm. So that subject line, the only job for that subject line is to make them open the email. Right. And what you did was you said, look, hey, 40% off. And they were like, nah, I don't want it. So they just didn't open it. Right.
Well, but we got really great open rates.
Okay. Well,
we got like on both.
There goes that theory.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
like 47%.
That's good.
Yeah. We got we got good open rates, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, see, I kind of screwed that up, because actually there is a threshold where that would actually help. I usually say about 50%. So like if you say like 50% off, I usually feel like that's the threshold where people will actually respond to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 40%, but yeah, absolutely. I don't like them having any inkling of what the email is. I don't want to lie, but I like to make it make sense, the subject line in the email, but I don't want to give them enough data where they can actually make a determination whether or not they want to open up the email from the subject line. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, the email that they opened, it had like a lot of different branding and the products and the sale and all that stuff on it. We got, I mean, like I said, it wasn't great conversions, which was very weird. So what I've been doing recently that's been working really well, and the online world is so funny because stuff you think won't work somehow ends up working, is instead of my email marketing guy, literally, I went on the back end of our, drip campaigns, went on the back end of drip. I just typed up an email like I was talking to them. So no sales copy, nothing like that. I was just like, hey, it's Ashley. Here's what's going on. If you want the 40% off, like I'll still honor that. I'd love some feedback from you, trying to figure out like, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? It was a super, as if I sent you a personal email text. I didn't even have to try. People were buying left and right. Like I wasn't even asking you to buy. I was asking for something totally different. So what's been working both in emails and both on social media marketing is going back to what I was doing back in 2014 when I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive, but like, stop trying so hard and just put something out there that sounds like they're talking to a person. So yeah, so if that helps at all, like, and I mean, God, I've spent so much money with digital marketing agencies and Facebook ads and Instagram ads and email marketing and sales copy and all that. And every single time, and this is within the last 2 years, we swipe all that. I'm like, just stop. I would never say that. Like, I'm not going to do that. People know who's behind the brand. And then I throw something out there and it's just like, purchase. I'm like, okay, so people want to see who's behind the brand. That's it. So that's been my strategy. I only work with micro influencers now because it feels too, I don't know, it feels too much like you're paying a model to promote your product who's also promoting 1,000 other products too. So if that answers the question.
Yeah, then don't listen to me. Maybe 40% is the number.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to your stuff about like people in engaging with your personal social media profile. They want to know that they're dealing with a person, not a business. And you know,
Right.
some of the best emails that we have one of Jason's mistakes in them or something. Not
Yeah.
my mistakes.
Right.
And
Jason's
just
mistakes.
like we say, oops, in the subject line. And it's like, it does the best. And
Yeah.
Kevin used to get mad at me. He's like, just proofread the thing. I'm like, Kevin, I just like it takes too much time to make it perfect. Let's just get it out there and see what happens. He's like, no. You don't understand. We got to make myself joke over here.
Free.
It was a little different when you're working with clients, though, when you're actually writing emails for them or you're sending. So it was a little bit of one of those things. Like now that we have our own business where it's like, okay, no one's going to yell at us if we have a typo. We can actually see it happening.
I don't care about typos. I actually prefer it not be. I don't like stuff that feels super cheesy and put together because especially if I read it and I'm like, I would never speak that way or say that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and send that out to everybody that's used to seeing me like on video and doing YouTube and running you through like my terrible Instagram videos. And now all of a sudden it's perfectly polished. No, it's a bad idea. There's a disconnect.
Our business partner in wildlife photography business, he's actually a writer. Like that's what he is by like, and his stuff has all kinds of errors in it. And we just send it because the truth is like, you look human that way. You don't look like you said, like, you're not overly polished. And the people, the truth is you get some people complaining, but for the most part, they just want the content.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I unfollow everybody that has Photoshop. Like if your Instagram, Facebook page is, what is it? I can't think of what the name of the flow where like the way the blocks read so that it's like a clean flow. Like
you tried that, Kev. What was that called?
Oh yeah, try to organize
like
your posts.
The checkerboard.
So
we did like the checkerboard thing.
No.
I hate it. And if you do that, I will unfollow you because I cannot connect with that. You are not a real human and you are trying to make it seem like you've got your shit together and I do not. So therefore we have nothing in common. So goodbye. So, I mean, I think though, and I mean, going back to the strategy, everybody in business, you have to find a way to help people connect with you. And if you try to be too put together, it's not going to happen. That's like the immediate way to get people to unsubscribe.
Yeah, that's why I want Kevin on camera more, because he's like far from perfect, and I think that'll help connect with people.
I saved you out of the
Yeah.
gutter. Remember that?
Right,
I
because you
have
were
a-
like just blowing things up for 17
Oh yeah,
years.
I was so far in debt at that point.
Kevin and I are like the perfect partnership because we are the complete opposite. He is like stay at home, and I don't mean home, but like he's like very like
Stay in front of the computer. I
very
know.
consistent. And I'm like, I got this whiteboard over here. I'm like writing everything. Let's do this. Let's do that. And he's like, no. Let's learn. So we're like, perfect.
Kevin, is your birthday in the second half of the year and Jason, yours is no?
2 days apart. 2 days apart.
Jason's is tomorrow and mine's Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Yep.
so weird. Normally, like that happens if you get like two polar opposites of the year.
Yeah, no, Kevin
I don't know how we
is,
found each other.
we are the complete antithesis of each other, but it works. To be honest with you, and you know, I'm the first one to say this. Like I had like where Kevin is really strong, I am really weak, and
That's perfect.
where he's really where I'm really strong, he's really weak.
Yeah,
right?
I think
And
it's what
Yeah.
makes a good partnership. I mean, if we're both the same, we'd just be clashing all the time. I mean, me and my wife honestly are
We
the same.
clash
Like
too, though.
we're not
We clash.
not
I
the
fight
same.
with you
We're,
every
we're
day.
very different, but we have a really good relationship because we're
Yeah.
completely different. He'll tell you the same thing. Me and my wife
they're
are completely different
completely
people.
different.
All right. Before we go, I have one more question because I have your Instagram on my side here that I'm looking at, and I noticed something that we don't really talk about, and I don't really know much about, is that the fact that you were on HSN at some point, whether recently
yeah.
or what's that process like? I know Jason has a family member that worked with HSN for a while, but I really don't have any information, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh my god, look how many products they're selling on HSN. That must be amazing. I got to get on HSN.
Well, that's a
What's
pain in
that
the ass.
like?
HSN, I sold out in, it was something crazy, like, I don't know, 3 minutes or something. So this goes back to what we were talking about before we started the podcast interview. I sold like hotcakes. I sold so much product and made no money. So it's one of those situations where, again, I didn't know. You go into it, and then also like they do, I think 90 days net. So even when you do that, it
They
takes
fine you and stuff, right? Like if shit isn't
Yeah.
perfect, yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I sold thousands of bags of pancakes, and I think after that I got a check for like $350 out of all of it, and I was like, that took so much work. I could sell that in a day on social media. Like, this is crazy. But having said that, it's also a really fun experience. It helps with like social media exposure. It's here in St. Pete, so it's like 20 minutes from me. It's not that big of a deal.
And they're not your customer. It's their customers, right? You don't ever get any access to those customers, right?
No, that's the thing that sucks too,
Yeah.
is there's no back end process. It's, if I knew and was going to do it all over again, I probably would, just because of the perspective of exposure. That's it. It's giving you exposure. It's giving you social proof. It's giving you PR, because other opportunities do come from it. When people see, they're like, oh, this is great. Like, we'd love to talk about this. But from making money, you're not going to make any money.
And it also depends. Like my aunt was big on QVC for like 25 years with her old company years and years ago. You have to have someone who knows and who can navigate that world. You know, you were kind of trying to do it on your own, I'm guessing, where like my aunt has like scripts they have, and maybe you did, but she has like a process of like how things come in and how they're quality controlled. And so they made money, but they said that it only took one mistake for them to lose money, right? Like a label was wrong, like they get charged for that. It's like crazy.
The HSN process was worse than the Shark Tank process. Like, you had to pay an HSN approved inspector to come to your warehouse. They inspected every single pallet of inventory that you had. Then they would just pull random boxes of inventory. So for me, it's bags, slice your bags open to make sure, like, they're just throwing away product. Then they would sift through the product to make sure it's clean, check all your labels. Like, the whole process of that was insane. And that's just, and you paid like $800 or something for that inspector to come out and tear through your inventory. You're like, 800, there goes an entire pallet of inventory.
You've learned a lot though,
Awesome.
man. You've done a lot. I mean, we need you for some of our stuff.
I feel like I must have like told the universe, like, hey, I want to learn quickly. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good luck. Here you go.
That's awesome. I mean, the funny thing is like while you're going through it, it's like the end of the world. But then like now you look back, you're like, oh man, I have a really good lesson from that. Oh man, like and now you know what not to do, right? Like you won't do it again. Maybe you will, but
I mean, there's always a lesson. If you see everything as an opportunity to grow and learn and not just like, okay, that's it. I can't be an entrepreneur. I'm done. Like I screwed that up. Like it's always a lesson and it doesn't mean anything about you. It's just, you had to learn this, keep going, try again.
All right. So where can people find you when they want to find your pancakes and they want to eat like really good food?
Yeah, I'm going to get some of these pancakes.
Yeah. We're going to get some. The business is going to get some.
Yeah. They can just go to abspancakes.com and then all on social media, it's Abs Protein Pancakes. My stuff is all just my name, Ashley Drummonds.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ashley. It's been awesome.
Yeah. I'm sorry for calling you out on that subject line thing. That was terrible.
Maybe you could teach Jason a couple of things about email.
Like social media posts and
right. Yeah. Everything. I am like, I am a complete marketing nerd. Like I like the numbers. That's what I want to like. You were talking before.
I can tell.
Yeah. Before we got on, like the upsells and the cross sells and average order value, lifetime value. Like that's my lane right there.
I hate that stuff. You do you do that.
I love it. I love squeezing every dollar out of every sale that I possibly can.
No.
No?
No, I mean, no, as in like, I can't, I'll get bored and then I'll quit.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Sorry for keeping you so long.
Yeah.
We told you it'd be an hour. It's an hour and a half, but we really appreciate this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thanks, guys.
That was a great interview, Jason. Once again, really great lady. Fun.
I like these interviews. They're so like easy.
We have to learn at the beginning to start the podcast because I feel like we talked for 15 minutes at the beginning before we started recording. Or like, I was like, that's good stuff. We should talk about that.
Yeah. And well, some of the stuff we can't talk about, obviously, but yeah, she turned out to be a really good interview. And I enjoy hearing stories like hers because I feel like as our entrepreneurial journey is so lonely and you think you're special, that you're the only one going through shit. And everybody does.
Her big thing was just the process, sticking through it. You're going to fail a whole ton. You just got to keep going, keep moving forward, especially if you have like such a strong passion like she had. Just keep going, keep moving forward. Yeah.
So really enjoy it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, this has been episode 205. You can always check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. We'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.